critical vote is set for today on whether to begin a debate on a sweeping voting rights bill that Democrats hope will counter restrictive new voting measures being enacted in Republican-led states. The motion, which needs 60 votes to pass, is expected to fail in the face of unanimous Republican opposition. But if Democrats are united, it could give more fuel to those who want to eliminate the filibuster. The person to watch is Democratic Senator Joe Manchin, who has come out against the bill in its current form. The West Virginia Democrat has proposed a compromise, and now Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is trying to convince him to help advance the bill as a way to begin making changes. Senator Manchin met with President Biden yesterday. We'll keep you posted on that. And also, former President Barack Obama is the latest high-profile Democrat to back Senator Manchin's voting rights compromise. The Manchin proposal expands early voting, eliminates partisan gerrymandering, requires voter ID, and allows election officials to purge voter rolls. Obama said it's not his ideal plan, but that it represents common sense reforms most Americans agree on.
I'll be honest, the bill doesn't have everything I'd like to see in a voting rights bill. It doesn't address every problem. And I want to also be clear, Republicans in Congress, in the Senate, have every right to offer their own proposals.
So, you know, I'm not going to make this about myself because I hate making these about myself. Okay. But Mika will tell you, if I'm negotiating with you and I give you everything you want, that's a really bad sign because I'm testing you.
Right.
Because if you don't take that deal, well, put on a helmet. That's just how I've done it my whole life.
Right.
I give people an offer they can't refuse. And if they show their bad faith, I just smile. And I reach under the desk and I put on my Falcons 1967 helmet with that bar right there. And I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Right.
No.
Joe Manchin, for all these idiots who are like, Joe Manchin, he doesn't know what he's doing. Joe Manchin knows exactly what he's doing. And here's another example. Michael. Barack Obama.
Yes.
Is now supporting voter ID.
Yes.
Which by the way most Americans support.
Right.
But no Democrat I've ever known. It's racist. It's bigoted. Oh my God, we have to show a voter ID.
Yeah.
This is Jim Crow 8.0. Okay.
Yep.
Barack Obama now saying we support voter ID, and he's right. Most of Americans support voter ID.
Right.
Barack Obama is now saying purge voter rolls. Again, something that Democrats would say, oh, you just hate black people. You were born hating black people because you want the rolls to be purged. Right. It's all Democrats have said as long as these things have been brought up. Barack Obama, Stacey Abrams, you name it, you go on and on.
Right.
Joe Manchin and these progressives are playing this. I got to say, they're playing it brilliantly. And if Republicans in the Senate don't go along with this, they are so exposed. Their bad faith is so revealed. What I love about this is how politics used to be played. This is like, let's meet in the middle. If you don't come to the middle with me, I'm going to run over you. You're showing your bad faith. And Joe Manchin is showing the world right now.
Yeah.
He's given the Republicans a chance, but showing what bad faith they're operating under.
Yeah, I think that's right. The question here, though, is if you figure out and you know where this thing ends up with the vote today. I mean, because remember, this is just a vote to have a discussion about the bill. This isn't about the bill. This is like, can we talk about the bill?
Right.
So you're right that in this case, you're going to see the Republicans exposed in that vein. But here's the rub for me. What comes next when they return after the 4th of July?
Only Joe knows.
Only Joe knows. And so Joe still has some leverage in this process. He's now brought leading progressives, Stacey Abrams, Barack Obama, and others to his camp. And they're standing with him on the very points that you just outlined. Now the question is, do you say, all right, since the Republicans didn't want the big package, do we serve up a bill that has these specific things in it that takes out the things that they don't supposedly like? We'll see how that plays out. I think Joe has worked this thing to his advantage at the moment. The question is whether or not the Democratic Party has the political strategy on the back end to close the deal. Because at the end of the day, you still need to get that vote. So that gets into filibuster and other things, Joe.
Right. Well, it does. But, you know, Mike Barnicle, we've said here from the very beginning that on voting, Joe Manchin's reverse engineered this. We don't know how he's reverse engineered this, but he has. Here we are. We're moving closer and closer to this is a great compromise position. And then, you know, we heard last week the idea floated. OK, they went from 67 for a filibuster to 60 to a filibuster. Maybe they go to 55 for a filibuster. I mean, this voting rights bill is going to pass. It's just Republicans can figure out how painful they want it to be, but it's going to pass. Manchin's figured that out.
Well, help me out here. All of you are in Washington, okay? And you're steeped in Washington law, in Washington rules of order. How is this bill going to pass when the most important opponent of this bill and every other bill that's going to be proposed by the Biden administration or any Democratic senator, the most important opponent is Mitch McConnell, who simply does not care. Doesn't care what we say. Doesn't care what the editorials say. How does it pass when he's standing in opposition?
Well, you have actually Mitch McConnell is, Kathy, Mitch McConnell represents the Republican caucus. So Mitch McConnell's doing what he thinks the Republican caucus writ large wants to do. That's his job. But there are 5 Republicans, I'm sure. Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, Mitt Romney, and a couple others, that for a voting bill that requires voter ID and purges the rolls, I think there are 5 Republicans that would support that.
Yeah, and that 55 filibuster rule is looking a little more promising at the moment than it was a week or 2 ago, not just on voting rights, but look at infrastructure.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting, isn't it? You've got 2 big bills being discussed at the moment by 2 bipartisan groups, where it's looking like there could be movement if you could shift from 60. You're not going to get 60 on either of them. You could get to 55 on both of those. And imagine that if you could go to Republicans, to those moderate Republicans, and say, listen, give us 55 as the filibuster threshold, and we can get somewhere on not just voting rights, but we can get there on infrastructure too. And it's just interesting how things are panning out at the moment, where you're getting some of those moderate Republicans who are saying we want to legislate.
And imagine how popular it will be if within a couple of weeks of each of these bills passing, you've passed a significant infrastructure bill, and you passed a voting rights bill. Look, I mean, there are going to be a lot of Republicans.
Then is it hard for McConnell to say, carry on saying no when you've got enough moderate Republicans saying, actually, we want this and we want to bring it to 55?
Michael, I've seen this happen before. Where, you know, I'm not saying it's going to happen here, but if a great infrastructure bill is going that would help people, and a great voting rights bill that, again, is a bipartisan bill, with voter ID and the purging of the rolls, and it makes voting easier, and it talks about gerrymandering. If that bill goes, it's one of those things where you're like, will we get 54? Will we get 55? And then they're like 78 that have voted yes, right? Because people are like,
we've seen it.
Like, I've seen that happen so many times where people are like, okay, wait, I'm not going to get run over for Newt. Yeah, I'm going to protect myself in my district.
You're having flashbacks, aren't you?
Or for delay. No, you would hear it all the time. They'd say it more colorfully, like blank delay or blank Newt. And then they'd go in and they'd vote yes. But, I mean, that happens in every legislative body where it's like, hold the line, hold the line, hold the line, hold the line. And then you see the line's about to break, and you're like, I'm not going to be left here going against a bill that 75% of Americans support.
And that's the rub. And so to Kathy's first point, that 55 filibuster is a rule change. They can do that very easily. All right, they can lower the number, the threshold.
And by the way, important. They've done it before.
They've done it before.
They went from 67 to 60. So please don't tell me that this is the trashing of
And it satisfies cinema because you haven't actually got rid of the filibuster. All those Democrats are saying, don't get rid of it. You've still got
the
it.
filibuster. And the second point, and this is the juicy part, is that for McConnell, to your earlier point about looking around at his caucus, he knows a couple of things. One, he's got more members on the line in 2022 than the Democrats do. 2, that these 2 issues are huge drivers in those states for those 24 senators who are going to be on that line. So at a certain point, this breaks down for him. The momentum moves against him. That's how Joe Manchin, I think, to your point, has re-engineered this thing. So he's created sort of a backwash of momentum around this idea where you now got the very thing that Republicans always held up as, well, we're not, if you don't purge the rolls and if you don't give us ID, so all right, you can have it.
You got him. Here you go. You want him?
Yeah. You got him.
Just like I said, that's what you do.
And so what does this member say at this point?
Okay, what else?
What do they say?
Oh, here, I'll give you that. Yeah. Willie, so